The Elves and the Shoemaker. Once upon a time, there lived a kind shoemaker named Arlo. He worked very hard, but he was very poor. One cold winter evening, he looked at his workbench and sighed. He had only enough leather left to make one single pair of shoes. He was worried about how he would take care of his family. Arlo decided he would cut the leather out that night and sew the shoes the next morning. Carefully, he traced the patterns and cut the pieces. "I will do my best work tomorrow," Arlo whispered to himself. He left the leather pieces lying on the bench and went upstairs to sleep. Arlo's wife, Marta, was waiting for him. She saw the worry on his face and took his hand. "Do not be afraid, Arlo," she said softly. "Everything will work out for us. We have each other, and that is what matters most." They went to bed, hoping for a better tomorrow. When the sun rose, Arlo went down to his workshop to begin his sewing. But when he reached the workbench, he stopped in his tracks. The leather was gone. In its place stood a pair of finished shoes, polished so bright they seemed to glow in the morning light. Marta came into the room and gasped when she saw the shoes. She picked one up and turned it over. Every stitch was perfectly even, and the leather was soft as silk. "I have never seen such beautiful work," Marta exclaimed. "Who could have made these for us?" Soon, a wealthy man named Lord Oren came into the shop. He was looking for something special. When he saw the blue shoes, his eyes lit up. He tried them on, and they fit perfectly. He was so pleased that he paid Arlo twice the usual price for them. With the extra money, Arlo was able to buy enough leather for 2 more pairs of shoes. He spent the afternoon choosing the finest colors, a deep forest green and a vibrant berry red. Again, he cut the leather in the evening and left it on the bench. The next morning, it happened again. Instead of the pieces of leather, Arlo and Marta found 2 pairs of beautiful boots. One pair was green with golden laces, and the other was red with silver buckles. They were even more perfect than the first pair. This continued for many weeks. Every night, Arlo cut the leather, and every morning he found the most wonderful shoes waiting for him. Word of the amazing shoemaker spread through the town, and soon Arlo's shop was always busy with happy customers. One night, shortly before Christmas, Arlo and Marta were sitting by the fire. "We are so lucky," Arlo said, "but I cannot help but wonder who has been helping us all this time. Marta, should we stay awake tonight and see who our secret friends are?" Marta agreed. They lit a small candle and went down to the workshop. Instead of going to bed, they hid behind a long, heavy curtain in the corner. They waited quietly, watching the workbench and the moonlight reflecting off the floor. Just as the clock struck midnight, 2 tiny figures hopped through the window. They were little elves, no bigger than Arlo's hand. They had no clothes on at all, but they didn't seem to mind the cold. They jumped right onto the workbench. Zip and Zest began to work immediately. Their tiny fingers moved faster than the eye could see. One held the leather while the other stitched. They hammered and tapped with little tools until the shoes were finished. Then, they vanished as quickly as they had arrived. Arlo and Marta came out from behind the curtain, amazed. "Those poor little things must be freezing with no clothes," Marta said. "They have done so much for us. I want to make something special to thank them." Arlo agreed that it was a wonderful idea. The next day, Marta got to work. She used the softest wool and the brightest silk she could find. She sewed 2 tiny green coats, 2 pairs of warm trousers, and 2 little knitted hats. She made sure every button was perfectly placed. Arlo didn't want to be left out. He took his finest, softest leather and made 2 pairs of the tiniest boots anyone had ever seen. They were brown and sturdy, with little laces that were as thin as a piece of string. On Christmas Eve, instead of leather, Arlo and Marta laid the tiny clothes and boots out on the workbench. They hid behind a curtain once more, eager to see what Zip and Zest would think of their new gifts. At midnight, Zip and Zest appeared. They expected to find leather, but when they saw the clothes, they stopped and stared. They picked up the coats and hats, chirping with excitement. They quickly pulled on their new clothes and laced up their tiny boots. The elves were so happy that they began to dance. They twirled around the workbench and sang a happy song. They hopped down to the floor and danced all the way out the door and into the snowy night, never to be seen again. Arlo and Marta never saw the little elves again, but they never forgot them. Arlo continued to be a successful shoemaker, and he and Marta lived a long, happy, and prosperous life, always remembering that a little kindness goes a long way.